This is Charles Bates, Computer Science NEA coursework, and I'm going to be testing the functionality of my game, and making sure that everything works as it's meant to, and making improvements if needs be. At first I'm going to start with requirement 1.1.1.1.1. I'm going to do an abnormal test and a normal test. The abnormal test is going to be where I'm going to try and drag a candy. And the normal test is going to be when I left or right click on the mouse on a candy and swap it with another. So I'm going to use this blue candy here. Actually, I'll use this one here, sorry. I'm going to left click, so this is the normal test first. Down onto this orange candy here. That works, and that means that it's a successful test. I'm now going to right click this blue candy here and try and swap it with this red candy here. That also works, and that means that that is a successful test. I'm now going to try and drag this green candy here and swap it with that one. This is my abnormal test. That did not work as I accidentally clicked at the end. This means that my requirement is successfully met, and that requirement 1.1.1.1.1 is successful. Next is requirement 1.1.1.1.2. This is the button clicking test, and I've got a normal and a boundary test to do. I'm going to start with a boundary test and then move on to the normal test after that. With the boundary test, I'm going to click around the button, and none of the events should not happen and not be triggered. So as you can see, here's my button. I'm clicking around it and nothing is happening. This means that this test is successful. Next I'm going to do the normal test. I'm going to click on the button, and that should trigger the event and load the board. That has successfully worked, and that means that requirement 1.1.1.1.2 is successful. Next, I'm going to be trying requirement 1.1.1.1.3, which is to do with the movement of candy. So I'm going to do a normal and abnormal test, and I'm going to be doing it so that I'm going to move one space horizontally, vertically and diagonally for my normal test, and that is how it's meant to work in my game. I'm going to do an abnormal test. I'm going to try and move 2 spaces away, and that should not happen in my game and should not work. So I'm going to use this green candy here. I'm going to move it horizontally 1 space, which is successful. I'm then going to use this green candy and move it vertically 1 space, which is also successful. And then I'm going to move it once again diagonally 1 space. That is successful. That means that the 1 space movement is successful. Now I'm going to try the abnormal test. I'm going to try and move this red candy over to this position here, which is 2 spaces away. This should not work. That did not work, and that means that it's a successful test. And down here it prints invalid move. Next I'm going to try and move it horizontally, so 2 spaces to the right. This also should not work in my game. Once again, the invalid move came up, and that is what's expected and what's good. Next I'm going to try and move it 2 spaces diagonally and try and swap it with that green candy. Once again, that has displayed an invalid move signal, and that means that my test is successful. Next, it is requirement 1.1.1.4, and this is pressing the escape button to load the pause menu. I'm going to do this, and if this works, this is successful. This has printed the pause menu, and this means that this is a successful test, and requirement 1.1.1.4 is successful.